Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is Alyssa, and I hope I pronounced your name right. Please, tell us, how are you doing today?
Hi, Caroline. I'm doing wonderful. I'm excited to be here and to speak with you and your community. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for saying yes. And first of all, of course, I would like to introduce you to our audience. Let me see where it is. You are the host of Revival Mom podcast, a transformational coach and speaker who has changed hundreds of lives with her encouragement, your encouragement, and powerful teachings on revival in the home. You have been seen on stages and in publications like Fear into Faith, the Wives of Integrity Conference, Faith Heart Magazine, and Mommy Brain. Despite those things, your favorite title is Wife and Boy Mom. Welcome to the Inspired Podcast. I'm so happy that we can speak today about what inspires you on a daily basis, every day. What is it?
Oh, I love that. What inspires me on a daily basis? Well, it would definitely be my children, my husband, and my God. That inspires me, keeps me going, keeps me motivated, keeps me excited, and just moving through this thing called life.
Oh, yes. And I feel inspired already talking to you today. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing. Of course, I have another question. What inspired you to start the Revival Mom podcast? And how has your journey as a transformational coach shaped the content you share?
Oh, I love that. Yes. See, about 10 months ago, I was just about ready to fall asleep. I was all cuddled up in bed, nice warm blanket, about ready to fall asleep. And I just felt like God said, Alyssa, revival starts in the home. And I was like, oh, that was really cool. Like, okay, Lord, I'll pray about that. And he said, no, Alyssa, and like said it again. And so I knew what he was asking me to do, but in my mind, I was just like, come on, there has to be someone different. There has to be someone better. Like, you know who I am, Lord. You know the things that I've done, the things that I've said. Like I get upset sometimes, I'll get frustrated and maybe we'll accidentally yell at my kids and I don't mean to. And just yesterday, we were in the grocery store and one little boy's running down the aisle, one's under the shelf and one's sitting there crying in the cart. And I'm just like, oh, what do I do? Like, my life is chaotic. There has to be someone that is much more qualified than I am to do what you're asking me to do. And you said, Alyssa, feed my sheep. Revival starts in the home. And it was a few months later where we were driving through a bad part of town. And my son, who was 6 years old at the time, we saw this man standing on the side of the road. And he just said, Mom, what does that sign say? And I said, it says, God bless, buddy. And he goes, well, Mom, why is he standing on the side of the road? And we got to have a powerful conversation about why that man might be standing on the side of the road. And my son, who just months before would roll his eyes so hard, like you could hear them hitting the back of his head anytime I'd get my Bible out or go to pray. And the same boy said, Mom, should we go pray for him? And I said, yeah, buddy, we should. And so we turned around and we gave him some snacks that we had in the truck and I prayed for him. And as we were leaving, my son said, Mom, I see why you love praying for people. And in that moment, revival starts in the home became so crystal clear to me. And I just said, yes, I will do that. And so that's where Revival Mom podcast was birthed. And the training that I use in my coaching, I share some of that on the podcast. And I really just take that and just really encourage moms and equip moms to see revival in their home, to see revival in their own heart, to see revival in their marriage, in their relationship with their children, and then watch it overflow into their community.
I love what you shared. And I can imagine also the scene with your son and driving in the car and then blessing the other person with snacks and a prayer. And I love the idea of praying for other people. I read a book about that. There's a book from, she shares her experience when she started to pray for other people. I think she did it like secretly at the end of the day. She went through all the people she met, and then she prayed for. It was a great book, by the way.
Wow.
And I think you have a great podcast as well. I love the choice of words, revival. It has to do with life. And yeah, and it starts in the home, right? So let us have a look at the next question. You've been featured in publications like Fear into Faith and Faith Heart magazine. How do these platforms align with your mission of promoting revival in the home?
Oh, that's a very good question. So Fear into Faith is actually the conference that was my launching point for Revival Mom podcast, and then the coaching that I do. I had spoken at an event, at that event, and one of my friends came up to me afterwards, and she was just like, "Oh, Alyssa, like you should really be coaching people on this like topic and on the subject." And so that was one part where it was like just that community of encouragement. But what really happened there was just this profound experience that I got to have and connect with God and really find, oh, this is what you have for me. This is the way that you want me to go. And so that event aligns so much with what I do now, because it was really the jumping point. It was a starting point to going after what it is, the desire of my heart. And Faith Heart magazine, it's to encourage women. It's a magazine for women to be encouraged, to bring them, surround them with the faith and like, how do we live this out? And just encourage those women, encourage those moms, keep moving forward. And so that is really just my heart's mission. When I had my first son, I dealt with postpartum depression for the very first year of his life. And it was unlike anything that I had ever experienced. I mean, going into motherhood, I was so excited. All I could think about was like just this little boy that, as he's a baby, I could like cuddle and smell that amazing baby smell and watch all these amazing milestones and watch him just grow and become this amazing little human. And then what I realized is, wow, what I got was nothing of what I had imagined. Because that postpartum depression, it was just like this darkness. It was walking through just like this deep, dark fog without any glimmer of hope. And I realized like how many moms are actually going through this, which they say the statistics are one in every third woman suffers from postpartum depression. And I believe that is so much more because so many women aren't actually diagnosed by a doctor with it because they're scared to share their true feelings. And so that was also just a catalyst for me and just something that really connected me to other moms. And I wanted to just do something that would empower them and equip them and really just see them step boldly into motherhood and standing in that authority that they've been given and actually enjoy it.
I love what you shared, that you help other women, especially, to deal with it. I think it's not the right word to say dealing. Like, I would say maybe embracing it and find the way, find the little light in the dark fog, you called it. And also, when you were talking about all that, then I think it's like an analogy, because you talked about becoming a mom, and the way you talked about your the turning point, when you had this calling and God gave you the idea of revival starts in the home, then it's the same, isn't it? The same, it's the birth, giving birth to something.
Yes. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that.
Wow. So I have the next question, of course, just a second. As a speaker at events like the Wives of Integrity conference, what key message do you hope to leave with your audience, particularly for wives and mothers?
Yes. Well, when it comes to faith, I found that a lot of families right now are in a place where the mother is taking on this spiritual leadership role. And not only is it spiritual, but it's now emotional, it's mental. She's the one, mostly getting the kids ready and off to school and making their schedule and getting them to sports and being there to be the nurturer and feeding them. and they have all of these things. And then you add on the spiritual side of things and being that person who is leading your children, and it becomes overwhelming. There's just so much pressure. And I say that because I'm not, it's not because the men aren't, there and supporting, but just the statistics are that men aren't in church. Men aren't as spiritual as women are right now. And so that leaves this heavy burden. And so, especially when I'm talking to wives, I want to encourage them and empower them to, one, honor their husbands where they are, because we are completely different people. I found this in my own marriage. See, when my husband and I first got married, we had the talk about religion, right? And I had said, I believe in God, but it's not a big deal. And my husband didn't want anything to do with it. He was in the military. He was infantry in the Army, and in the US, that means like he's out on the ground, like during a wartime. And it was during 2007 when the US was in Iraq. And so there were he saw a lot of bad things. And he just said, people kill each other over religion. Wars are started over religion. I don't want anything to do with it. And so fast forward, that was our initial conversation. Fast forward, and then, 4 years later, 5 years later, I was like, oh, honey, I'm going to go to church. And you can imagine how unenthused he was. And so it's been, and that was even before having children. And then after children, what I really found is that it's just, we get to honor our spouse wherever they're at. And maybe the husband's the one who, has faith, and the wife is the one who doesn't. Maybe it's even over your goals, your financial goals, your career goals. It can be over so many different aspects of life. And what I have found is that honoring each other in those places, that we are two separate human beings who came together to become one, and you're not going to win the other person over by belittling them, or by just by belittling them or telling them what they want. All those things aren't worthy or aren't what you guys should be going after. It's in the honor. It's in accepting them where they're at. And I found that really helps with just the peace and the joy, and ultimately you guys can come together in a different way and still have this beautiful, thriving family.
I'm speechless now because no, of course I'm not, but I'm thinking the whole time how beautiful this is. You implemented, or you used the word to honor, and it is so much more than only, I say only, accept or tolerate or even appreciate. It's so much more. It's honoring the other in the way they are, or like exactly not wanting to change the other person, giving the time they need to becoming aware of whatever it needs in that moment, I would say. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And of course, I have another question, and I think your listeners will get very much out of this episode. I'm enlightened already. I have to re-listen to it again. My next question is about your own coaches and mentors. Do you have coaches for yourself? And who was the best coach you ever had? Can you tell us about that?
Yes. When I first got into business over, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, I found this amazing woman. Her name is Danny Johnson. She is no longer coaching. She is retired, sadly, but she is a woman who completely changed my life. When I went to one of her events for the first time, I could not believe the people that were around me. Like, it was a completely different way of thinking than how I had grown up, than how I had been taught. And it just like blew my mind. I just sat there taking it all in and just thinking, I've never even thought of this. I've never even heard of this. Like, what is going on? And she completely changed my life, my business, my finances, my relationships. And so she was just such a huge catalyst in my life. And now I have certain coaches. I have, for example, a speaking coach, but she's so much more than that. She's a friend, and she's absolutely amazing. She's so just wise and bold and courageous. And it's awesome just learning from her, being surrounded by her, and just receiving the encouragement and the empowerment. And not even, that's not even to mention the skill that I've gained from working with her. So coaches and mentors I have found are vitally important. They are so important. I always go back to high school. And I played volleyball in high school. It was my favorite sport, loved it so much. And my volleyball coach that I had then, gosh, just he saw something in me that I didn't even know was there. And isn't that what a good coach does? Like, they see what is inside of you and they pull it out of you. And I played at a school that had never won any sort of championship ever. And I played on that varsity team for 4 years. My senior year, I told him, I said, before I leave, we are winning a championship. And he must have thought I was crazy at first, because out of all the years the school was there, there was no championship, there was nothing. And so that year we did it, but it wasn't because of me. It was because of the coaching. It was because of him seeing what was in me and pulling it out and allowing me also to lead on the court with my teammates, because he knew that I could. And so just coaching and mentorship, it pulls the best out of you and helps you to go further faster, is what I've found. And I don't know, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yes, absolutely. So it also changed my mind, because here in Germany, we are not so used to coaches, not in sports or for life, how do you call it, mindset coach or whatever. It's new to me, but I think it's so important to accept people to help you, or help you to grow as well. And what you talked about was, I think, I would say, taking one step or one leap into the unknown. And it can be with the coach who sees that already, that you are capable of doing it. So you borrow the belief of the coach sometimes, and
Correct.
then you succeed and achieve your goals. And I congratulate you on winning the championship in what was it, in school, high school, college, university? I'm
It was,
impressed.
yes, it was in high school volleyball.
Okay,
Yep.
I don't know the system in the US. I have to learn.
Yeah.
I have to learn. And I have another question. Just a second. Despite your many accomplishments, you mentioned that your favorite title is wife and boy mom. How do you balance your professional success with your personal life? And how do your roles as a wife and mother influence your work?
Oh, that's very good. I think that you can tell how my my title as mom and wife influence my work. That I have found that being a wife and being a mom, it is like holding up a mirror to yourself. If you're willing to see who you are, it is like a mirror, and they can be the most challenging, right? Like they're opportunities to be challenged. And yet when you are challenged, you are able to grow and you're able to become a better version of who you were before. You are able to see these things that maybe you can change to get you further, to build those relationships on a deeper level. Gosh, I was just looking at my son one day and he was getting frustrated. Like, I can't remember what he was trying to do, like maybe build something. And I just remember looking at him and he's like, oh, like getting upset. And he just took like the toy and like threw it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I couldn't even be mad, because I was like, I've done that before. Like, I've gotten frustrated and I've just taken what I had and like threw it on the floor. And so it's just a mirror, right? Those things are just a mirror of, it just shows you like, oh, this is who you are. And maybe these are good things that you can change. But also, I've seen my son be so generous and loving towards people and want to buy his teacher a flower just because. And so then it's those moments too where you're like, okay, I guess I'm doing something right. I'm doing something well. And so I like to take those moments that I have within my marriage and within motherhood and take those, learn from them, so that way I can go and share it with people and share what I have learned in those moments and hope to help them overcome, empower them, equip them to overcome maybe some of those same barriers that they're facing in their life, in their marriage, or in motherhood.
Yeah, I absolutely understand your message. Thank you so much. And I think I will ask you now. What I feel is that you are completely rooted in that role, if the word is correct, in the marriage and motherhood, and that empowers you to fulfill your passion, your purpose in life, your work, to do your work, right?
Yes.
As an
Yes.
entrepreneur. And this is so amazing because most of the people think the opposite. So like, oh, it is time consuming, having children and being a wife. And how can you do this? Build a company. Beside that, I remember when I opened my opened my company, I was not telling to anybody because I knew they would tell me. So I did everything, and then I told them I opened my company. So this was also 15 years ago. Thank you so much for sharing. I think now we are a step further for the women, right? This is what we are doing. So I have one last question for you. And it is, when people reach out to you after listening to this episode, and please reach out to Alyssa. She's amazing, right? Do you have special offers and services for the Inspired Podcast community?
Yes, I do. I have a beautiful, well, let me share this with you first. My sons started school the beginning of this year, and it was just about 3 weeks into them starting school. And the teacher called me into her office, and she was like, we need to have a meeting. Like, your son, he's pretty far behind academically, and that's okay. Like, we can finish out the year and he'll just redo it next year. That's not really a big deal. But the issue is that his behavior is, it can kind of be bothersome in class, and he's not really getting along with the other kids very well. He's not playing well with the other kids. And so we really need to look at, maybe this isn't the best time for him to be in school. Maybe he should wait until he's a little bit older. And in my head, I'm just like, what? He has 2 other brothers. He has a younger brother. He has an older brother. Like, how does he not know how to play with other kids? And then I just started thinking, what kind of mom am I that I haven't set my children up for success in this area? He does, he's not hitting the academic marks. He's not playing well. Like, what have I done to, I haven't set him up for success. And luckily, as I was kind of going down this spiral of guilt, the Lord stopped me, and he was just like, no, I want you to pray these certain things. So that night I went home and I prayed what the Lord had told me to pray. The next day I came back and the teacher said, I don't know what happened, but he's a completely different kid. He was so different today. And I kind of just laughed, but at the same time, I was like, oh, this is a fluke. Like, he just had a good day. The next day it's going to be the same as it was before. Well, no. 2 weeks later, he got Honor Student of the Week in his classroom. He got it a second time through the end of the year, and then they gave him the award of Mr. Friendly at the end of the school year. And I didn't do anything besides go home and pray. I didn't change his food, because here in the US, our food is not great. There's a lot of dyes, a lot of things that mess with kids' behavior. So I didn't change his diet. I didn't take screen time away. I didn't even have a conversation with him about, like, hey, we got to do better in class. I literally prayed. And that was it. And I saw this just amazing change in him. And so I want to offer your community, it is, they can go to Revival Mom Praise, PRAYS.com. And I have the Ignite Revival in Your Home powerful declarations and prayers for them to start seeing that type of revival, that type of movement in their home.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I will look it up immediately. This is what we all need in our homes. And you are so right. Revival starts in the at home, or because I learned this earlier. It is the smallest entity. So when you fix, it's not the right word, but when you take care of, or you pray for your home, then you pray for the whole world. Let's say it that way. And I love what you just shared. It's not changing something on the outside. It is an inside job, and when you pray, everything changes. There are people doubting this. I used to be that person, so now you are the evidence of giving us hope, and now is time for your last thoughts, please.
My last and final thoughts.
Yes.
I just want to encourage all of you listening. You came here to be inspired, and I don't want to just inspire you to go out and, make, gosh, the biggest impact that you can have is in the four walls of your home. And if you don't have a family yet, if it's just you and your house, well, guess what? You can still make the biggest impact in between those four walls. And that is by investing in yourself, learning something new, and just taking a step towards the dreams that are in your heart, because they were planted there for a reason. You have a purpose in this world, and it is time for you to listen to those, to take that step. And when that happens, you are going to impact the entire world around you. It starts to overflow onto your family, onto your closest friends, and onto your community. So do that investing in yourself, and then go out there and be the revival within your family and within your communities.
Oh, thank you so much. This was a great episode. Be the revival. Let's do this. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.